Welcome to the Community Open House for the City of Lowell's Development Code Amendments Project. This open house will be presented in both an in-person as well as a virtual format. My name is Jacob Collister. My colleague Henry Hurley and I work for the Lane Council of Governments and have been supporting this project and projects that led to it for almost 4 years. LCOG also has provided ongoing planning support to the City of Lowell for several years. I want to start by drawing your attention to the city's webpage dedicated to this project. You may have accessed this virtual meeting via the site, maybe not. This is where you can continue to access key documents and revisit the project schedule, which we will discuss shortly. Development of code amendments was guided by a group of representative community members organized as the project's Code Committee. Participants for both Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the project are identified here. The project management team is made up of the following individuals: Jeremy Cottle, who is Lowell's City Administrator; Laura Buell, who is a TGM Code Assistance Manager; the Lane Council of Governments representatives; myself, Henry Hurley, and an urban design consultant, the Urban Collaborative. This is an overview of the Code Amendments project schedule. As you can note, the project experienced some delays in the midst of COVID and had a belated start to Phase 2, which began again in earnest this spring and has progressed through the summer to this point. Lowell's Development Code Update is funded by Oregon's Transportation and Growth Management Program, TGM for short. TGM is a partnership between Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development, DLCD, and Oregon Department of Transportation, ODOT. TGM's stated goals are as follows: create communities composed of vibrant neighborhoods and lively centers linked by accessible transportation; provide transportation choices to support communities with the balanced and interconnected transportation networks necessary for mobility, equity, and economic growth; support economic vitality and growth by planning for land uses and the movement of people and goods; save public and private costs with compact land uses and well-connected transportation patterns; and finally, promote environmental stewardship through sustainable land use and transportation planning. Although including a wide range of amendments applicable citywide, a key objective of the Code Amendments updates is to implement into City Code the city's recently adopted Downtown Master Plan. Following is a depiction of how the Code Amendments fit into the city's overall regulatory structure. The master plan ultimately leads to implementation elements that will be housed in the development code. That's what this update is about providing implementation to that master plan. The master plan itself is what we call a refinement plan to the comprehensive plan. That means it has the weight of the comprehensive plan and is at a policy level. The other updates, the other amendments that are proposed include broader TGM principles, housing, streamlining of process, and other housekeeping items and administrative items that have been collected over the years. The Downtown Master Plan area was defined and iteratively refined to generally encompass the city's central business district, key public facilities in close proximity, and areas in between. The master planning process engaged landowners, residents, and other key stakeholders. This included outreach through a booth at the Blackberry Jam Festival, a high response survey, and a full-day workshop to capture ideas and concerns. The following goals for Lowell's downtown emerged from that outreach process. Goal 1, a quaint downtown. Goal 2, a central park. Goal 3, multi-story mixed-use buildings. Goal 4, a variety of homes. And Goal 5, connected sidewalks. The following development or planning patterns emerged as methods to address the goals: wide sidewalks, paths, two-story mixed-use buildings, awnings on building frontages, roundabouts, street trees, building frontages on the street, gateways, lined parks, porches, and traffic calming. All of this culminated in the master plan's regulating plan. The regulating plan in the downtown master plan has the same function and authority as the comprehensive plan map. It proposes new plan designations for the downtown master plan area, which serves as a directive to developing zoning. We will discuss this in more detail soon. With that as context, we will pivot to the proposed code amendments themselves. We won't go over all proposed amendments in this presentation. We have identified what we consider to be key amendment themes. They are key for one or more reasons. Some are key because they are extensive. Some are key because of the attention and discussion they have garnered as the project has developed. Some are key because they represent objectively noteworthy changes in regulation. The amendments include a proposal to transition to organizing permits and applications into types. This is modeled in the Oregon Small City Model Code and widely used throughout the state and nation. Land use decisions range from non-discretionary to highly discretionary. Thus, public noticing requirements are different for each type of development. Under a types model, the lower the type, the lower the amount of discretion exercised, the less notice provided, and the less the ability to appeal. A table is proposed on pages 12 and 13 of the amendments, which provides a key for determining the proposed review procedure and the decision-making body for particular approvals. The change is largely organizational, with many applications seeing little or no change in process. It's important to note that all discretionary application types have a notice and an appeal mechanism. Controversial administrative tasks can also be escalated voluntarily to the city's decision-making bodies by the city manager. One way to fairly simply characterize the difference between form-based and traditional zoning is rooted in the name. Traditional zoning leads with use and results in form as a secondary or even more disconnected outcome. Form-based code leads with form, i.e. look and feel, and uses the parameters of form to guide design and use really as a secondary outcome. A little more characterization of the difference. In traditional zoning, there is an attempt to strictly organize a community according to its different uses, again use-focused. Discourages mixed uses and may prevent development in certain areas. Attempts to create uniformity by applying parameters like setbacks, heights, density, and floor area ratios. Form-based code, on the other hand, preserves community character through design requirements. It encourages mixed uses and promotes walkable communities. It focuses on the role that individual buildings serve in shaping the public streetscapes. What you see here is a recent shot of Willamette Street in Coburg, which some of you may be familiar with. I think it provides a meaningful local example of look and feel. Coburg recently completed a form-based code for its downtown to preserve its desired look and feel as undeveloped properties along its Main Street see development. Represented in this picture is a mix of public open space, traditional business fronts, and ground floor business with second floor residential. What you see here is a building standards sheet. This is the primary implementation tool of a form-based code. This is one form for one proposed downtown zone, the Downtown Flex 2 zone. This sheet outlines uses, but broadly and in a fairly inclusive manner. It also addresses other key standards: placement, lot coverage, height, parking, but also includes things like facade transparency and a rich set of objective notes to address several more nuanced matters, things like development next to a residential zone or nuisance parameters, for example. All proposed downtown zones have a dedicated building standards sheet just like this containing the same details. Lowell, like many communities, is experiencing a housing shortage. One example of this is the school district indicating that its teachers and staff have significant difficulty finding any housing in town, let alone cost-appropriate housing. Enabling a variety of housing types is one way communities can ease housing challenges. Section 9.707 is a proposed new code section pertaining to the allowance of accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. The proposed code language is derived from DLCD's guidance on implementing ADUs. Lowell does not meet the state of Oregon's population threshold requiring ADUs, but will benefit from accommodating this type of housing as much as any community in the state. Cottage cluster housing developments are being proposed to be outright permitted uses in the R1 and the R3 zones. Cottage clusters are a series of relatively small dwellings that are clustered together and typically include a common open space intended for use by all residents of the cluster. New language addressing cottage clusters is proposed on pages 160 and 160 through 162 in the amendments. Townhomes and single-family homes are called out specifically in the Downtown Master Plan. The building standard sheets promote townhomes in the Downtown Residential Attached Zone, and Downtown Residential Detached Zone requires design features like street-facing entries, porches, or covered stoops, or parking in the rear or side for single-family homes. Here are some other amendment themes to watch for. Off-street parking is proposed to be exempt in downtown zones. This does not mean parking is not required. It means it is the developer's responsibility to provide parking plans that are objectively adequate, but not based on arbitrary thresholds. On-street parking can be leveraged to meet that need. Parking is also required to be behind buildings for the most part. The purpose is to establish the look and feel envisioned for the downtown area of Lowell. Numerous parking lots in the downtown area specifically undermines that vision. All zoning districts within the city of Lowell were reviewed for and have proposed adjustments to minimum lot sizes and focusing the highest densities in the downtown area. A few points of note here are that Lowell's current minimum lot sizes are the largest in Lane County. Also, these are not mandated lot sizes. They are minimum lot sizes. Also of note is the fact that the city has approved several variances to lot size in recent years, indicating that the code should be revisited to be responsive to changing needs and desires. Finally, the Code Committee provided strong feedback in support of these lot size changes. It can be difficult to visualize lot square footage. This is a graphic representation of different configurations of building footprints on a 5,000 square foot lot, including 1- and 2-story dwellings. Other amendment themes to watch for include clarity around property access standards, and two areas that were not explicit targets of this project, but are folded into these amendments for efficiency's sake. That includes flood hazards and House Bill 4064, which addresses manufactured dwelling prefabricated structures and is reflected in section 9.710. Finally, a high overview of next steps for the process. This meeting represents our community meetings, both virtual and in person. The virtual meeting will be open until October 10th. On October 18th, there will be a joint Planning Commission and City Council work session. They will review feedback from this meeting, from other outreach, and we'll look over the drafts themselves. A process will follow which will include incorporating the feedback from all of the outreach that happens at the beginning of the fall, which will be incorporated into a final draft code amendment. And finally, it's expected that in early next year, early 2023, the decision-making bodies in Lowell will hold adoption hearings and will proceed with decisions around the code amendments. Thank you for participating in Lowell's Community Open House for the Code Amendments Project. We look forward to your questions and your other feedback. Thank you.